Justin Tuck. He has 2 more Super Bowl rings than you do. Former defensive end, 3rd-round pick out of Notre Dame. And now look at him. He is a managing director in private wealth management at Goldman Sachs. Okay. Show off.
What's going on, Dan? How are you?
Great. The importance, when you finish your career and decide what you want to do, when did you want to go into wealth management?
I think I always wanted to go into finance. I think, years of playing in the NFL and being in NFL locker rooms and watching some of the struggles some of our players had with their own personal wealth, what to do with it, et cetera, et cetera. We all know the history of the documentary on Broke and all of that stuff. So I always wanted to be in finance, but I think when I started thinking about where I could have the biggest impact, especially for our players, athletes and entertainers, having more representation in that space, that's what kind of led me to be more on the advisor side in private wealth. So I think it was later in my kind of football career that I actually started thinking about that.
All right, so you go to Notre Dame, get a degree there, and then you have to go back to business school?
Yeah.
So you go to Wharton. Do you have to go to classes there?
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Okay.
And plus, it's in Philadelphia, so no one likes me. So it was kind of, it's tough.
Okay, but you're sitting in classes with people and, just regular students, huh?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the first couple of weeks there are tough because a lot of the professors there that had adopted the identity of being Eagles fans. So I mean, a couple of classes, I just walked in with my Super Bowl rings and put it on their desk and just kind of tried to level set, how this semester was going to go. But it was tough. I mean, it was the toughest thing about it was getting used to using that side of your brain before. I mean, obviously, I went to a big time academic school in Notre Dame, but it'd been 12 years since I even had to deal with the rigors of studying for these tests and being up at 2 a.m. With these 26-year-old kids who had had internships at the Goldman Sachs of the world, and they were in prime shape. Where I had some getting off from behind the 8 ball in a lot of situations in that regard. But 2 years at Wharton was very constructive as far as getting me that foundation I needed to go into this financial world.
What do young football players, young athletes make? What's the biggest mistake you see a common thread with these kids?
I think not just athletes in general, but a lot of my clients, luckily they're very wealthy, so it doesn't really take into consideration. But spending is always the issue. I think when, especially for athletes, when we start making money, most of us come from situations where we haven't had that type of money, haven't had the experiences of that money. And I think a lot of times we're all egomaniacs, right? We all want to compete and have the biggest house or the biggest car or the nicest clothes or go on the best vacations. And we all feel like, because we have this some level of fame, we got to fly private, et cetera, right? So I think the biggest thing is helping guys understand that, I know this is your first time, you're new to making this type of money, but this money does not last long, especially when you think about the fact that NFL or athletic careers are still so much more short than, that of a professional, right? I was blessed to play 11 years and I retired when I was 32 years old, about to turn 33. There's a lot of life left in that. So, the first thing I think about clients is just like, let's get the right budget for you and your situation and try to spend the right way, I guess.
We're talking to Justin Tuck. He won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants. Now he works at Goldman Sachs, managing director in private wealth management. What's it like on Monday morning when you go into the office and I'm going to guess your coworkers want to talk football?
Yeah. Well, lately it's been very tough. Last year was a lot easier. Um, obviously, luckily, it's a lot of Giants fans around my office, and they know at this point now when I want to talk football and when I don't. But I think early in my career at Goldman, I got a lot of silly and what I would call dumb questions. I know people say there's no such thing as a dumb question. There are some dumb questions. Um, and
Like
I think a
what?
lot of
What
that,
what would you get asked where you go, that's a dumb question?
man, you put me on the spot here. I mean, I've gotten so many. Like, I've gotten some of my analysts have asked questions like, I don't know, why did Eli choose number 10? Or um, do you hit a crowd when they're yelling? I'm like, yeah, my ears work pretty well. Like, just silly things. Or like, you know, um, how does it feel to sack a quarterback? Or, and I'm sure I've gotten some dumber questions than those. I just can't think of any right now. But I think now I've spent the last 6 years educating most of these MIT grads that know nothing about football. I've educated them enough where they're asking some legitimate questions, and at least I'm doing my duty as far as like hopefully I'm building the NFL's brand, one analyst at a time.
Nice.
So
See, I figured somebody would say, "What's it like to hold Tom Brady in your arms?" Something.
yeah.
How many times did you hit him in those Super Bowls?
Hit? Ooh. Um, I had 4 sacks, and yeah, I saw a stat like it was something crazy. Us as a team, that first Super Bowl, I think we on drop back passes, we actually hit him 70% of the time, or something like that. Right? It was unbelievable the fact that we played that well against such a quality competitor and quality team. But yeah, I mean, like everyone asks me questions like, "What's your favorite quarterbacks to sack?" And I always tell them all of them taste the same. But I think with Tom, it was such a big moment, so it's gonna feel a little different just because of the Super Bowls. But yeah, we hit him a lot, and I try always when people ask me that question to give a lot of credit to him because I've seen quarterbacks fold. I've seen we those teams we had the Giants, we had the opportunity to have some really, really great defensive line efforts where we hit quarterbacks a lot. And I've seen quarterbacks in some ways give up. None of that was in Tom, and he fought to the end. I think if you remember the last 2 throws in those 2 games, he threw the ball over, 65, 70 yards in the air
Yeah.
after getting pummeled all game. So I give him a lot of credit. I've seen quarterbacks not want any part of it, and he stayed there to the end. So that's why he's probably going to go down as the best quarterback, if not best football player ever.
I remember Michael Strahan saying a few years ago that you can sometimes have more respect for somebody with the punishment that you would dole out, and they hung in there. And he said, "Look, I respected Tom even more because we hit him with everything that we possibly had."
And I'm talking about some big hits, some right up the in between the 1 and the 2 hits that we like to say. And like I can't give Tom too much credit without giving my personal quarterback a lot of credit too, because that game was very similar to Eli in San Francisco. If you remember, Alden Smith, Justin Smith, that defense that in Candlestick that night that Eli got pummeled. I mean, I remember seeing it looked like it was a cartoon character where when like Tom and Jerry or somebody gets steamrolled and like you see their print in the ground. It seems like that because Candlestick was really soft as well. So like seeing him get like peeled off of the ground after Alden or Justin or whoever else had hit him. That was one of those games where I was like, man, Eli, the dopey Eli, I got a lot of respect for that guy after that game because he got pummeled. And obviously with Tom in those Super Bowls, the same thing.
Wait, you called him Dopey Eli?
Yeah, we always call Eli dopey.
Why?
Because he's dopey.
Okay. How did he react?
I'm sure he's gonna have a comeback for that. But yeah, dopey Eli. It's funny because Eli, regardless if he was having a game where he was throwing 4 touchdowns and 400 yards, or he was having a rough game, his facial expression was always kind of the same. So we just called him Dopey Eli.
If you could sit down with any person in America to talk finance, to talk business, who would it be?
Finance or business? It's two
Okay,
different things.
let's do business.
Business.
Wealth management. You're talking wealth management with any person in the world.
Um, that's tough. I'm blessed to have so many great people around me. I think if I was talking wealth management, finance in general, it would be Paul Tudor Jones, a mixture of Paul Tudor Jones, Ken Langone, and I mean Buffett. Those three would be very high on my list. I mean, I would,
Pick
throw
one.
a dart at the board at that point. Business, woo. That's tough. I mean, honestly, it'll probably be somebody that has constantly like started things and created things. Um,
But
I
like
don't, I don't,
Elon Musk. Is Elon
that's
Musk?
what I was thinking. I know he's controversial a little bit, but that's what I was thinking because he's brilliant and he's created things over and over again, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you see a lot of times in business, you see guys who make a huge splash with one company or one idea. He's done it over and over again, and I don't see anything stopping him. I mean, like I was just looking at SpaceX and its new valuation of $150 billion, right? It's just, I mean, it's Scrooge McDuck type of numbers with that guy. So, yeah, I would pick him up there very high.
Great to talk to you. Glad you're doing well. Thanks for sharing the stories there.
All right, man. Listen, Dan, it's always a pleasure. Appreciate you having me.
What are you benching now?
A lot less than I used to.
All right, but probably the most in the Goldman Sachs office.
You know what? We got some weekday warriors in the. If I got challenged and you gave me like 2 weeks, yeah, I would do it. But like I tell people all the time, I used to get paid a lot of money to work out. Now I'm working out because I'm old, so it's different. Like the amount of weight I put on the bar now is so drastically lower than what it used to be. I just want to be able to say that I worked out. So and in some ways look good in a bathing suit. That's about it.
He's Justin Tuck, won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants, and currently the managing director in private wealth management, Goldman Sachs. Thank you, Justin.